And losing employment is certainly dramatic, but the very nature. Now, what I'm getting for you, Trish, is you are not really falling prey to the drama. So when I ask about the people that are somewhat uncaring, the nature of being involved in it to the extent that brings a lot more energy to it in a negative way is what I'm saying. Drama has a lot of different definitions, but for this particular case, don't we all have situations in life where we bring a lot more energy to it than we need to at times? We might call 10 people, get 50 different opinions on something, and then it's all this energy, and sometimes it creates a little, talk about the circle in the past few months, right? But just an example of a little drama, but a bunch of people together and lives and earnings at stake is a potential pressure cooker, so.
And I'm trying to be very understanding and rise above it, and I can feel when that energy hits in there, and it's just like that's when I feel like I have to remind people, this is an opportunity. I had a friend tell me, think of it as not as a slap in the face to you, and everybody that's been there for all these years, but think of it as a slap on the butt, as a get going. You have more of a life to live. And when I heard that, I laughed.
That is
and
awesome.
I needed that laugh, and I was like, that is such a simple way to look at it. But yes, it is. It's a shove forward.
And move forward, yeah. And now this is the thing that happens when we go through traumatic experiences in our life. And I know it's been true for me at different periods in my life. Before I really learned how to tune into my spiritual side and my intuition, whenever a door would close, I think it's common to stand there and look at the closed door and completely forget about the future that's totally wide open now suddenly in front of you. But a lot of us have a tendency to stand and stare at that closed door and hope and pray that it'll open back up on some level.
Yeah, this whole experience has been very pivotal to keeping looking at the doors opening instead of the doors closing. Because I can look at other things, other situations in my life, and I did stare at that closed door.
Yeah.
And I felt like everything was falling apart. I guess this particular situation is that I'm able to focus more on the open doors and reflect back on other things in my life and go, I was holding myself back.
Yeah, I heard recently, and I find this to be true in this case, sometimes it's not what we've lost, it's that we don't have a sense of what it's being replaced with. I think that's true for relationships. Absolutely. And we mistake the mourning for that person or that thing or that job or that experience. But in reality, it's that we don't have anything that we know is coming in to replace it. But the universe will always fill a void. So your positive intentions, Trish, are what's going to attract a positive replacement, if you will. And when you were talking about doors, I kept feeling like the more energy, everything is energy. I say, and we have a great amount of will. We have free will from God. It's one of the most powerful vehicles, if you will, that we have to create our lives is our will. It's very strong. It's indomitable, if you will. When we decide, and I say I decide with a capital D, when you decide something, the universe will move mountains to bring that to you. You understand?
Yeah.
So when you very powerfully, like you've done, decided to maintain your buoyancy, optimism, way of looking at things, you are naturally drawing more opportunities, and more doors will open because of your positive, and I'm even watching saying positive and negative like a dualistic kind of energy, but because of your powerful intent and energetic will towards an outcome for you that is joyful, that will produce more of that for you, where opposed to the people that are surrounding you that are not doing that, the doors may not open, and they'll have a completely different outlook about life, thinking life is a certain way, without understanding that if they had some understanding of these spiritual tools of how to work with the universe and use will and intent, that they could create these magnificent outcomes for themselves as well. And I know you've been working with me in the classes, and I know you have a greater understanding of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
yes, and I do. I have such a belief that everything is going to be good and right and better than where I've been and what I have going on now. It doesn't take away that fear that sits in the corner and go, I hope it all does. But it's not big.
Your will is stronger than that.
Fear is not as big as my hope.
Right. Love is stronger than fear. So when you go into the heart of what is next in life for me, that I can share my joy and who I am and belief in yourself and all of these things, is a completely different experience than standing there looking at the door closed. To open up your arms and say, wow, I'm at a pivotal, potent position here to have something entirely new come into my life. So I'm going to be working with you on your teacher-like role in this, because, like I said, I know that you're doing this for a reason, and this will be bigger than you think. You know what I'm saying?
Amazing. Good.
Yeah. What I found is that it's key to not minimize our gifts, talents, and strengths. It's important to acknowledge them, put focus and energy into them, and really connect with them. Okay? When you are able to connect fully with these wonderful things within you, then it's like icing on the cake. Then you find places where you can serve with this gift. You see? So mastery is really, to me, not discovering something that, I mean, taking classes is one thing, and going to school and getting a master's or PhD and learning something completely new, that can be valid in a lot of cases as well. I'm talking about something that you've had your entire life. I bet in grade school you were the one that put your arm around someone and said, it's okay. Would that be true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't just stumble across this caring, dynamic, powerful nature just in the past month or so.
No, it's capitalizing on it, and I think I've always done it.
Yeah, because
get great joy out of it. Is it's kind of like it's moving forward, but when you have people in front of you and people behind you, it's kind of like pushing. I always envision it as it's like I'm pushing them forward, and I'm holding their hand and pulling people behind me with me, along the journey.
Right.
Like, well, I'll get there. Or a ladder, you know what I mean? One person's a step above you, and you're pushing them forward,
yes.
And you're going forward, and you're pulling the one behind you.
I use that same exact image, and I have for years. Yep, I agree. There's something I was seeing as you were saying that. So understand, Trish, and everybody listening, that I'll say this one more time. What you are good at, what you are here to bring forth that could create a magnificent new business for you, or book, or just amazing things, come from something that you are born with, a natural God-given talent and ability. And what it takes to take that into something to the next level is to fully connect with it in a way that you own it and you understand and honor and appreciate, and it's in a very in much humility versus arrogance, and that deep humility and gratitude and appreciation for yourself and self-love of connecting with what is unique about you. And I avoid the word special because we're all special. I'm talking about everybody is great. Wayne Dyer is a fantastic spiritual teacher, and he talks about a genius. Everyone is a genius, and our job is to find our own genius, and we all have it. Okay, so one little story I like to tell. Back in 1992, I started painting. It helped me with what was going on in my life and just being creative, and I never took a painting lesson, and I didn't think anybody would ever see these paintings, and I didn't think too much of it. In fact, most of them just ended up in a pile and collected dust, and I never didn't think anything of it. And then when I had a complete, practically nervous breakdown 8 years ago and severe depression, going through a difficult time in my life, people would say, well, you paint. I'm like, well, yeah, but, and I didn't connect with it. You see, it was like, well, I paint. I paint, yeah. It was like I file my nails. So I just was like, yeah, paint is something I do every now and then, And then when I started meditating and started connecting with my spiritual self, and I started to get this higher guidance, I heard in my intuition, you're going to write a book. And then I saw one of these paintings I had done with words around it. I'm like, well, that's interesting, a book about my art. And suddenly it all came to me, and I literally sat down, and that was my first book I wrote 8 years ago. And I wrote in the introduction, this is a story to help you connect to the true a collection of paintings to help you connect to the true spirit within you. So here I was painting for nearly 20 years, thinking nothing of it, and there's nothing different about what I'm doing now with my painting than 20 years ago, except the difference is I'm connected to it as something that's, oh, this is something. This is something. You see? And now I'm getting into a speaking career, if you will. I do coaching. I'm an author. I'm going to do speaking. I've spoken at a couple events, but I'm putting energy and my will and my focus, and I'm asking what is unique about me speaking, and I'm putting attention on it. I'm connecting with it. You see? But what am I going to speak about? Well, what have I experienced in life? I don't have a PhD in speaking, but I've lived 47 years, and I've got some things I've learned. And that's all you need. That qualifies us. That qualifies us. In fact, that is the new age coming in, is heart-centered entrepreneurs earning a living, turning those hobbies into gold, quite frankly. So this caring nature that you've had forever and a day, is something when I'm saying keep connecting with that. Keep putting energy. Keep realizing your uniqueness with that, with all humility. And it's not about comparing ourselves to other people like, oh, I'm an artist and this person isn't. Or it's not like that. It's like just focusing on yourself in a way that's loving. It's not about the third dimension, which is a dimension, not to get too metaphysical or lose anybody with this topic, but if you understand that there's a shift going on the planet, a consciousness expansion, if you will, we're moving from an age where everybody's competing and being at war to a place where people are having compassion and understanding, and it's happening little by little, but it's going to keep increasing because the time is now in 2012 for the world to change, and it is. Okay, so we're not just out there trying to make a buck or get by. We're here to thrive. It's a whole new glorious, wonderful age coming in, Trish, and when I look at it that way, how perfect that you could be potentially doing completely something else now. It's time. It's time for a new paradigm.
It is time. It's time, and the word thrive is huge for me when you said that word. Because I'm ready to thrive.
Yeah. That definitely helps. Now, I think, I'm going to watch how I say this. I'm not